Well, hello. I am actually going to illustrate to you how to do this assignment because I understand from reading emails that some of you've been having a little difficulty doing the installment on your literary argument essay. All it amounts to is coming up with a couple of original thesis statements of your own based on the arguments you wish to make. So I'm going to actually show you how to do that, potentially using the story that I had mentioned in the earlier video, but this time actually showing you some possibilities. Now, the first one I came up with, and again, this is for this story. I mean, you can work with diction, for example, with plot, with theme, any type of argument. For example, we can make the argument that Jack London's economy of language in the story To Build a Fire ideally suits the powerful undercurrent and message regarding man's frailty in the face of the forces of nature. And we can deal strictly with word choice. So, I mean, there are all these possibilities, but here is one. Although many options come to mind regarding the fatal flaw of the protagonist of Jack London's To Build a Fire, and I don't use this story, I'm just using it because you know it, right? The most convincing argument is that he simply lacks sufficient imagination. Now, notice what happened with this. We actually used subordination. In other words, we used a subordinated conjunction like although or though to help set up the counter arguments. I know. I know you realize that's a thing of beauty because then I have that opposition built in. Then I can wage my argument and, in essence, address other possible arguments using textual evidence, secondary research if you choose to do that. I'll also be posting a full paper very soon with a full analysis to show you how this can be actually expanded. But you see how this works? So I have some notes for evidence here, possible angles that I can use. And you can do that, or you can actually fully state the evidence. So I could have maintained that this fatal flaw, if you will, had more to do with pride or arrogance, and make that case. Lack of instinct. Here it is, the dog has more a genetically inbred understanding of the dangers in nature, the unpredictability of nature, of storms, of freezing, so on. Failure to be attentive. Didn't notice the warning signs. This sometimes is a fatal flaw, is it not? Didn't notice, oh, you're too deep into the wilderness, the Yukon, and once you step into that frozen water and become wet, that you are putting yourself even at further risk. All of these can be made. All these arguments can be made. But we can also say that, well, wait a minute. The stronger argument is the other. So pick your poison on that. Now, here's a completely different one. So I'm saying, well, you could come up with any number of these, but you're testing them out, right? Jack London's To Build a Fire graphically illustrates the naturalist, remember naturalism, doctrine of the harshness of nature and man's subordination to its forces. In other words, we're not in charge here. We're not at leisure to make the prediction that, I can control nature. I can dominate nature. Sometimes we think that this is true. Other times we find ourselves at the mercy of storms, of cold, of the power of the ocean waves, of wow, sharks. You name it. But this is that idea that we are just one of many elements in nature, and not the major player, not in power, in charge, right? And I took some notes here for support for that. I could do a little secondary research into naturalism and certainly contrast to the romanticist view that nature informs us, it inspires us in many ways. It is the beauty of nature reflects a kind of very positive relationship that we have with nature. And we could mention intellect, the power of intellect versus, this evolutionary kind of approach where we talk about intuition and instinct as having very, very forceful influences upon us and can save our lives, you know. And sometimes intellect doesn't do us any good. It's too abstract. Okay, well, that's the idea. Hope that helps you a little bit, and we'll post that and notify you about that. Extend the assignment a bit, but that's all we're talking about, and it can be done with any story.